So it's 2025 and I'm doing a Legend of the Five Rings video. No one had that on their big cards. I certainly didn't. But, you know, as one of the few Legend of the Five Rings content creators, even though I'm mostly on TCGs and Fab these days, but as one of the few Legend of the Five Rings content creators still active after, you know, the death of the TCG and the death of the TCG, and, you know, all of that. I mean, there's still books being written. I still have a lot of them. I could do reviews of them if people want, but I haven't really been thinking about L5R for a while. It is interesting that they are now launching a Legend of the Five Rings video game. Not the first. There was one way back in 1990 or something that was really old and very rough, and there was like a mod for another game. I can't remember what it was, but there has been Legend of the Five Rings on the computer before, but this is like the first actual Legend of the Five Rings video game that we've seen in a while. I haven't played it at all. I've seen a demo video of it. It's called ShadowVeil, and it's set in the Shadowlands. You play a Crab Clan commander. But let's just dive straight in. The music is, I don't know if I can put it on in the background. I'm not going to. It's going to ruin my talking. But the music is quite, you know, ambient, well, and it's set in the Shadowlands. Yeah, and you can see great clans, obviously Dragon, big rep. But this is a Crab Clan kind of story, as you'd expect, based on the wall in the south of Rokugan. So for those who don't know, basically the wall is the Great Wall of China, but it's planted into a fake world, which is a mishmash of Korean, Japanese, and Chinese culture. So it's kind of like Far Eastern-ism written by an American. It used to be far more like Oriental mysticism, stuff like that, but the 5th edition of the game is much more like cultural awareness and appreciation rather than cultural appropriation. The Crab Clan are kind of like siege experts. They guard the Great Wall, and on the other side of the Great Wall is a load of demons who live in a place called the Shadowlands, and the Crab basically defend the Shadowlands from there. So I think the first thing to say is that, like, they're leaning hard on lore. They haven't really explained the clans that well. They've just given you the basic gesture. And they're kind of leaning into the importance of tradition. They've got, like, the banner has been stolen. You just turn off. So they're like leaning quite heavily into the setting, which is what I like. Like, they've got a guy complaining about the fact that the banner has been stolen. He's kind of making fun of people who aren't really doing what samurai are supposed to do. You know, and that's kind of, I find, quite fun in terms of leaning into the lore, right? So now I think this is an Autobattler. So I'm just going to put some guys on the board, and then let's see what happens. Oh, can I not deploy both of these? Let me just deploy. I'll put this guy who looks more tanky at the front. Okay. So then they just fight, and we see how we do. I mean, it's kind of disappointing that the UI features don't mesh as well with the art features. Like, my instant is that this art style is actually fantastic, especially for Rokugan. I mean, people like this traditional, like, blend of anime and painted art styles, but these bars, I don't know what's happening with them. They're kind of like the antithesis of the rest of the design style. Okay, so I'm getting items weakened to 5 enemies. Very nice. Okay, so I'm picking a route through the Shadowlands. Okay, so assumedly, wherever we're starting, we're going to pick some routes, and we're going to move across these maps and fight them. Okay, so get up close and personal, so let's put a guy there, put my archer there. Can I deploy? I will say, so like, one of the biggest selling points of games set in the L5R universe is leaning into the setting. And you know, we do have, you know, goblins are good. The fact that this guy is a healer who's a berserker and this guy is a Kaiu engineer makes sense. If you get stuff like that wrong, that would be a mistake. Goblins are pretty accurate as well. Okay, so he's just talking us through items. Okay, so we just apply that to him. Yes, we start the battle. It's kind of annoying they've given us 3 units, but we can't use all 3 of them. That kind of doesn't really... I mean, I guess it's a good introduction to a tutorial if you're never going to be able to use your full roster. But it does kind of ask me why we don't just have 2 units right now. Okay, Earth becomes Sky. That's a classic magic spell from the Rokugan universe. So whoever made this has done their research. Cleansing Flames. Let's just take this. Imagine that hard. I am quite enjoying this. I am quite enjoying, you know, the art style so far, and we'll have to see if the gameplay gets more complex. But it actually seems quite fun. I get command points. Okay, so now I can use that third. I can choose to heal a unit or get a command point. If I have a command point, I can deploy my Kaiu and my Haruma. The Harumas are scouts, so that makes sense. Get my command point. Now I can next combat. I do wonder how long this demo is going to go on for. Okay, now I've got a Kuni showing up as well. The Kuni are like witch hunters. So you've got the 4 families of the crab kind of properly represented. So the berserkers and the kind of main samurai, traditional samurai fighting force are the Hida. So they are berserkers, but they're not entirely berserkers. They also just have like samurai. They like to fight with these big zanbato, so the big clubs. I said that name right. I think I remember that right. The Kaiu are the engineers, and they build the walls, but they're also like bow fighters. The Haruma are archers, or scouts. So you can see he's got his kunai here. So also kind of play as sort of Obi traders sometimes. And then the Kuni are the wizards, basically, the Genja, the priests. But they wear face paint and they kind of embody that kind of mystical magic style of sort of Asian culture. So they pray to spirits who then do magic-like effects for. Again, I mean, there's a little bit of like stuttering here, which is weird because I have a pretty good graphics card. But the blending of the effects with like the painted on style is actually really pleasant. Jade, incredibly important. It's the only thing that can stop you from being corrupted. Interesting. It looks like we're going to... Okay. So this is actually quite interesting lore-wise as well, because of course Jade is the only thing that can stop you from being corrupted in the Shadowlands because it's pure. So when you collect Jade, you can take a camp. So that's interesting. And we're getting a little bit of a camp rest. So this is a bit like Darkest Dungeon in that regard. Until your next combat victory, your command points are increased by 1. I like it. Take that. Now I can deploy units to fight this boss. I really like this table as well. It's probably like they're doing campaign planning on a map, right? It's just really nice. So let's get this guy in as well because I've got a campaign point. So this is really interesting. This is an elemental focus point. So the lore of Legend of the Five Rings is the 5 elemental rings: void, air, water, earth, and fire. All exist in the world, and they are all impactful. And people also try and emulate and align their spirituality with one of those 5 elements. So a Shugenja, a priest, or a magician might be aligned with an element more than another one. So it's interesting to see these take their place on the board. And also, like, look at the atmospheric nature of this forest. You've got the lanterns. You've got this really nice style. Again, it is just the bars are the only thing really ruining it for me. Everything else is really nice. So let's just go. Let's do this battle. I imagine being the tutorial, we're probably going to win fairly easily. But you know, we're fighting this Oni again. A little bit of stuttering, which I'm not really enjoying. But you know, what can you do? So is that done? I imagine that's the tutorial done. I imagine the demo is probably done soon as well. Yeah, just doing something. Sorry, important text. Dog is barking. Always when you try and record. Anyway, let's start to wrap up because I don't really want to get into it. So this is Urushi, who is going to be one of the Crab Clan champions at one point. So these are the sons of the Crab Clan champion. This is Kuniyori, who is shock horror, maybe evil in disguise. That's a bit tropey, but okay, thank you. He always, to be fair, in the actual books, he has the evil moustache and everything. So, you know, the tropes are thing, but he looks fairly uncorrupted now. Though he might be later. I don't know where this is storyline. But basically, they're talking about the Crab Clan duty to defend the wall against the Shadowlands. And you get to choose, it seems now, do you want a fighter or do you want a tactician? Urushi is very much like, I've got a big hammer, I'm going to smack between people. Sukune is more of a strategy and a strategic kind of guy. I'll go with Sukune, just because I liked him more as a character. Okay, so we're looking for the Ancestral War Banner of the Hida, so a very interesting artifact. And Kuniyori has given us a task to do. Okay, and then we're going to go through this gate. We have to repair the gate with smelting stock. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm guessing we're building like our initial fortress and then collect lots of stuff to upgrade the everything. Okay, so I get to add 2 people. These are... That's actually quite interesting. These are not named samurai. They're attendants, which assumedly means that like at some point they're going to level up and gain other abilities, which is interesting. Let's just have a look at where this starts then. Okay, so I'm starting into the Shadowlands. I've got a quest, lovely purple marker. And I've got my planning table. I really enjoy this, actually. I really enjoy the fact that we're starting with a kind of Slay the Spire feel, but without, you know, with a very, like, heavily Rokugan influence. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I think, just to summarize, because I don't want this video getting too long, my initial impressions, lore-wise, it seems to be doing 10 out of 10, good work. All the characters you'd expect, all the names you'd expect, doing the things you'd expect, looking the way you'd expect. So the art team has knocked it out of the park. This feels like Rokugan. This feels like a Shadowlands adventure. I love the fact that on this map, very Slay the Spire-esque, every adventure seems like it's going to start from the Great Wall, venturing out into the murky depths of the Shadowlands. That's fantastic. We'll have to see the game as it unfolds. Obviously, this is just the demo. But from the perspective of an initial sort of look at this from someone who is very, very rooted in his knowledge of L5R, it looks like all we can assess now being the tone and the theme and the setting. It looks like they've knocked that out of the park. So I'm really happy with what I see here initially. And that makes me optimistic for this game, if the gameplay matches up and it is interesting. I love these kind of games. I've got a lot of time done in Slay the Spire, you know, so I do love these kind of games. So if it can match even that experience, this could be a good thing for fans of L5R. If you liked this video and you want me to see more content, the only real way to get me to do more L5R content at this stage is to comment on the video saying, hey, we liked it, please do more, because I'm not an L5R channel anymore. Unfortunately, that aspect has just faded. There isn't as much to cover from a card gaming side of things. I don't mind, however, because of my love of Rokugan, going and doing side projects like this, looking into a game like this. So if you want me to cover this game in more depth, do just drop a comment under the video and I will do a playlist and I'll do some sessions of this game and review what it tells us. Right? Thank you all for listening. Have a great day.